Here's something I wanted to share that this is definitely a young adult book, so not for little kids. And it's just out new in 2016, and it's called Character Driven, which has all sorts of multiple meanings because the character is the main part of the plot all the way through. But there's one really neat section in here that talks about writing. The main character, Cliff, who is 17, is helping a friend with his writing, and he thinks he can't write anything. So it says, "Hey, I'm sorry, Jimby, I wasn't thinking. I forgot how hard it was the first time I wrote a story. You're right, it's not easy. I had to write a whole bunch of stuff before I got used to making up stories, and it started to feel easy. Grab a seat. All you need is one good idea. We will brainstorm." "Isn't that cheating?" he said. "We're supposed to do our own work. I don't cheat." "No, it's okay to talk about ideas. As long as you write the story on your own, it's fine. Even Shakespeare got all his ideas from all over the place. Hang on, I'll be right back." And a half an hour later, Jimby had a page full of ideas written down on the pad, ranging from our initial flying zombie fighter to vampire mobsters and a private steerable one-man air balloon. He had more than enough for one story. And I had the satisfied feeling that comes with doing something creative. The story wasn't due for 3 weeks, so he'd have plenty of time to work on it. So I think that's a really neat way to show a friend, helping a friend get started with what was a creative writing assignment for school. This one, I just read this summer too. It's another 2016 book called Saving Wonder, and the main characters are in 7th grade. And the title is also sort of a play on words because it's set in the name of the town is Wonder. And the two main characters are a boy and a girl. And there's a part in here where they are talking about how words and playing with words really helps them. And the main character has over time lost both of his parents and a brother to things that happen in the story, and he was living with his grandpa. And his grandpa every week gives him a new word. So interestingly, each chapter is a letter, and then that's the letter for the word for the chapter. Really, really neat. So the C chapter is conundrum. Really interesting book that shows how words can make a difference for these two characters. And then my class, super duper fun book from last year, all-time favorite, Dori Phantasmagoria. I use this to help my kids start writing dialogue because the little people in here are hilarious and they are constantly interrupting just the regular text with what they're saying out loud. And she says, "Did you hear the doorbell ring?" "Nope, I didn't hear anything." "Okay, I'll get it." And then it turns out to be this really mysterious character. You're not quite sure if she's real or not. And it was just really, really fun. And I had to ask our librarian to order more because everybody wanted to read it. Really fun book. So I really like the talk about writing. So this one is an A from Miss Keller. And Patricia Polacco, everything she writes is wonderful. And this one, the little girl has to write papers for her and is working, and can't quite figure out what Miss Keller is wanting from her as a writer. There's a part in here where the teacher says, "Miss Barber," that's the character, "Miss Barber, your paper on your neighbor's Millie was, well, adequate. But where are the words that really show emotion?" Then she turned and looked right at me. "The reader needs to feel what you feel, but not in an ordinary way. Be daring, unexpected, surprising, and original. You have the words, Patricia. Now you have to give them wings." Don't you just love that? The whole book is marvelous. And here are 2 stories that I'm going to show my class this year for when you get stuck. Because both of the characters are completely stuck and disappointed and almost quit the story and walk out. Which isn't that hilarious? So this one's called A Perfectly Messed Up Story. And I have to tell you that it does look like there's jelly spilled in the book and peanut butter. But it's not. I know, it makes you want to touch it because you feel like it's really messed up. So the main character gets completely annoyed because the book, it keeps getting messed up. "This is the worst thing ever! What am I going to do?" So funny. And the same with this one called Chloe and the Lion. The 2 main characters, they actually are in the book. It's very clever. And there's one point where they just want to give up the whole thing. Right here, I give up. And so they just want to quit. So who doesn't want to quit at some point? but they don't. You can tell there's more pages. So they end up having a heart-to-heart. He has a heart-to-heart talk because he has fired his illustrator, and he tries to draw it himself, and he says, don't talk to me. Don't you think you're being hard on yourself? Okay, so I'm drawing badly. And then they end up working it out. Very fun. If you have nothing to write about, this Thunderboy Jr. is about the little boy's name. And I think if you have nothing else to write about, you can always write about yourself and your name and your family and where you got your name. And if you like it and maybe you don't like it, which is the case for this character. And this book is by Sherman Alexie, which he also wrote this awesome young adult book. And I love showing kids actual kid work. And this is called The Best Part of Me. And the author is a photographer, and she took pictures of the kids and their writing and put it in a book. So he's describing his eyes and what he can see with his eyes. And another person is describing there's a foot one, and their mouth and their elbows and what they like about that part. And I like this one about her hair. And kids, I have showed this to kids and they come up and touch it because they can't quite believe that there's actual kid writing in a book. So it's just really neat for kids to see actual kid writing in a book. You can write about your dreams, like in this one. This is a little Cuban girl who wanted to drum, and in her town it was only boys that could do that. So she ended up being able to drum. Write about your dreams. I have to give a plug to some other Wisconsin authors because this is Zelo Miller. Sophie Squash Goes to School, her second book about Sophie Squash, in really just wonderful narrative story. And another Wisconsin author, Miranda Paul, has written this awesome book about the women in the Gambia who started saving plastic bags and making them into purses and selling them. Just a really awesome nonfiction book. And she also wrote this one for social studies about community helpers. And then, just to top it off, my favorite book of late is Last Stop on Market Street. And if you haven't read the Newbery Acceptance Speech by Matt De La Pena, I printed it off because I'm actually going to read it to my class this year, because he talks about how he felt like he wasn't a part of things, and that helped him write his book. And when he got the award, he said he couldn't, in the speech, he says he couldn't believe that he was now a part of this group of authors that had received that award. Plus, in his speech, he says he revised this book 70 times. So I'm not sure if he's exaggerating and if he actually did, but that makes me think I have a few more revisions to do on my picture books.